Greetings folks, and I hope you're all happy and healthy wherever you are in collecting land. And welcome back to the channel for another 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review. And today's offering could probably double as an episode of Grail or Fail, as well as we're going to be getting up close and personal with Blitzway's take on Carlito Brigante, aka Al Pacino from the 1993 Brian DePalma gangster epic that is Carlitos Way. Usual format folks, box, accessories, figure, then showcase at the end. But before we dive in, as always, I'd like to send a huge shout out to everyone who supported Go Figure, and please drop a like on this review as it helps other people find the channel. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification icon so you're not missing any of the 1/6 scale and collectible goodness that we've got in store. So, Carlitos Way, starring one of Hollywood's greatest living actors, and Brian DePalma on the top of his game. It's a gangster classic in my opinion, a tale of love, redemption and bullets. What more can you ask for? And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you seek it out immediately. But enough of my retro ramblings, onto the box. Let's stop it from spinning and have a quick look at it as we always do. And I've got to say, for a 12-year-old figure, I really do like the packaging that Blitzway came up with here. I think it just sort of smacks of class and quality. But yeah, what you've got is this sort of magnetically clasped box on the front. You've got this picture from the poster art from Carlitos Way. Really nice shot there of a profile of Al Pacino in the shadows there next to a wall. It says Blitzway in the top left-hand corner. You've got Brian De Palma film and it says Carlitos Way in this high gloss lettering with a sort of almost a deep red tinge to it. Really, really nicely done. Blitzway, 1/6 scale collectible figure, and if the light is catching this, once again in that lettering, in that high gloss lettering, it says Carlito Brigante limited edition. Around the sides, Brian DePalma film again, Carlitos Way, and Blitzway 1/6 scale collectible figure, limited edition. I think that's repeated on the left hand side, pretty certain it is. Yes, it is. On the bottom, just says Blitzway. On the top, it says, if I can get this the right way around, just flip it the right way around, it says Escape to Paradise, which I believe is the poster art that keeps reoccurring in the film, and I think it's actually in the subway in the climax to the film. Around the back, that sort of classy feel is continued again, Carlitos Way in that foil lettering, and you've got a brief description of Carlito, and then you've got all the credits and warnings as well on the back here. Don't piss this figure off, or it might ask you for a favour. And as we all know, a favour gonna kill you faster than a bullet. So yeah, that's the box. It's magnetically glassed, as I said, and when you open it up, what you are greeted with, and the interior is just as nice as well. That sort of classy feel is continued again. You've got this inlay on the top here, this sort of translucent black plastic inlay that says 20th anniversary limited edition. You've got Carlito Brigante across it as well, and underneath the foam inlay is the figure. Obviously, this isn't a new figure to me. Had this in the collection quite some time, so he isn't in the box. If I can get this foam inlay out, he's not in there, but we will do as we always do. We will bring out the accessories, dive down onto the table and have a look at everything that you get with your Carlito figure. So, accessories, what do you get with your figure? Well, not a vast amount, to be perfectly honest with you. Well, not by today's standards anyway, not by modern standards, but we will take a quick look around everything you get. We'll start with the hands, as we always do. You know me and my strange hand thing. There are a pair of hands already on the figure itself, which include an open palm hand and a trigger figure hand, and then you get these 4 others. So there are 6 hands in total, not a huge amount of hands, but we'll grab a couple at random to see what kind of quality we're looking at, what kind of sculpt. Now straight away, I'd have to say, for a 12-year-old figure, and I'm probably going to say that more than once in this review, these are pretty good hands. The sculpt is on point there. You've got vein work in there. You've got bone structure. There is creasing in the knuckle area there. The paint applications are pretty good. There's sort of a reddening across the knuckles there, which is nice to see. And even on the back of the hands there, they've sort of sculpted in some sort of lateral creasing as well. I don't know whether that's to replicate hair or just age, I'm not sure, but it looks effective. There's creasing in the palms there, limited amount, but it's there. the sculpted in fingernails, which have been painted as well. So yeah, as I say, for a 12-year-old figure, they're pretty good, and the paint applications are not bad at all. Probably not what we consider to be as good as modern figures, but on the whole, pretty good. Let's do the flexibility test. And you've probably got a medium going on here, a hard to medium. I think we've probably seen over the past 12 years hands becoming a little bit softer, just to accommodate holding all the accessories. But on the whole, pretty good sculpt, pretty good paint application. And it's nice to see as well that they've actually sculpted in the pinky ring here, Blitzway, with that gold paint application and those green stones, possibly emeralds in there. I'm not 100% certain, but yeah, good to see they've sculpted in the ring. So yeah, on the whole, for its age, pretty good hands, if a little limited in quantity. So we'll pop those to one side. What else do you get? We will take a look. Well, actually, we'll take a look at the packaging. There's nothing in these boxes because I've taken it out. One of these boxes contains the shirt. The taller of the three boxes actually contains the stand section, which is already put together. But I just thought we'd bring them out because I really do like the way that Blitzway package these. It just sort of adds to that classy feel that the whole figure has. The upright section of the stand is included in this box, and in one of these boxes you get the pile of cash, and the other box has the swap out shirt. But they're just really nicely done, if a little bit of a ball ache to open. And they're just plastic, but what you've got printed on the bottom there is on all of them is Carlitos Way, and it just sort of adds to that premium feel. So yeah, they're the boxes. Let's take a look at some of the smaller stuff. It comes complete with this beer bottle, all one piece of sculpted plastic, nicely done. That brown plastic, that clear brown plastic to replicate the glass. On the front there, you've got this super shiny gold sticker that says KX on it, and there's a sticker around the neck of the bottle as well. No top on the bottle, so you can have him holding it. So yeah, that's the beer bottle. Let's take a look at the guns. Comes complete with two handguns. Not 100% certain of the make or model here. The first one is a super shiny silver handgun, and this is pretty much screen accurate as far as I can tell. So he does wield this very, very shiny handgun. Yeah, all one piece of sculpted plastic and really nicely done here, considering its age. It's not the most detailed handgun I've ever seen, but it's pretty well done. And I'm liking that super shiny metallic paint, which has stood the test of time and is still glistening away today. There's a plastic section on the handle there, a white plastic section. The detailing's pretty good. There's no cocking action here, although the hammer is pulled back. No trigger action, but there is a slide along the top there, which is nice to see. And I believe a removable magazine section, if that will come out. And that's been finished in that super shiny paint application with bullets in there as well. So yeah, that's the silver handgun. Slightly different model here, not sure what this one is, but once again, all one piece of sculpted plastic, and pretty much the same features as the other one. No cocking action, no trigger action, but a slide across the top. So the paint applications are pretty good, the sculpt is pretty good for its age, and once again, a removable magazine. This one I know is a little bit stiffer than the other one, but yeah, once again, with a little bit of coaxing, that will come out. And it's super thin, that one, so not an awful lot of detail on it, but yeah, that's the magazine. And the second gun, you also get a pile of cash, of $100 bills, which come in one of those little plastic boxes. And I've got to say, these are really well done. The level of detailing on these bills is pretty good, and the cardstock they've used is pretty nice as well. A lot of the modern figures we see these days, and it's just super thin paper, and it bends and creases and just looks and gets tatty very, very quickly. But these are really nice, even down to it being readable on the back there, seeing the United States of America $100. So yeah, some nicely done money there. We'll pop that to one side. And the shirt. Now, you do get a swap out shirt. This is really the only other article of clothing that you get with the figure. And as you can probably tell, I have never used this on the figure. It's been in the box for as long as I've had it, which is a hell of a long time. But it's a collarless blue shirt with a black stripe in it. And it's very, very nicely done, I have to say. the cotton feels, and it feels like it is a cotton material, is of a really high quality. It feels super nice to the touch. The stitch work is very good around the collar area there. I can't vouch for the fit because I've never had it on the figure itself, but it is screen accurate. Those colours are right. That collar section at the top there is on point and screen accurate, and just really nice stitch work, really nice material. You've got some snaps down the front here, the absolute bane of my life. I hate snaps, but fortunately there's only 2 of them there, and yeah, overall a really nicely tailored shirt if you're wanting to swap it out for that look. As I say, something I have never done in all the years I've owned this figure. So yeah, that's your swap out shirt. And finally the base. Now let the let the issues come in. Now I've got to say, it's a love-hate relationship I have with Blitzway stands. I think this is a really nice stand. Well, I suppose my major issue really has always been with this this upright section that comes with them. Now I'm not taking this off because it's such a ball ache to get back on, but essentially what you do is there are these 2 sliding sections at the bottom here, these 2 circular sections. This metal section clasps into the back there, and then you can move these sort of in and out to your heart's content. Now there's a reason why these are set like this and they're not moving, and that's because there is something that I've added to the top of this this base, but we'll get to that. And then you have this whole contraption, which these 2 poles that come up, and then you can slide onto the top of those 2 poles this section here, and it is not my favourite stand solution of all time, I've got to admit, but and once you've got this plastic section on that says Blitzway on there, you can opt for either the crotch grabber or the waist grabber. Obviously the crotch grabber slots at the bottom there, or you can take that out and insert the waist grabber. I wouldn't recommend, if you have this figure or you're thinking of picking it up, if you can somehow manage to locate it on the aftermarket, of using the waist grabber, simply because he's got a pleather overcoat on, and that would probably do untold damage if you left it for any period of time. I would recommend going with this, but it's not an ideal solution, but it's not the biggest gripe about this stand, and it's a shame really, because I really do like the front of this stand. Now the stand itself has got this sort of super high gloss lettering. It says Carlitos Way, and it's stood the test of time really well and stayed super glossy, but you can probably see here, if I can get this close up into the camera, there's discoloration on this plastic and what looks like wet areas, and there's a reason why they look like wet areas. It's because they are wet. This whole thing is super sticky. Now, as you can see underneath, this was once just straight plastic, and said it said Carlitos Way. Now, as you can see, it's covered in all kinds of unpleasantness. That's dust and hair and bits and pieces that it's picked up, because this is super sticky. The plastic that Blitzway chose to use here, and I'm assuming it's oil that's leaking out of the plastic, and I know this was a problem with all of these bases. They just leaked, and it's horrible to hold, horrible to touch. It feels like it's super unpleasant. I mean, I do like it, but what I did in the early phases of owning this figure, and as you can see here, is I actually sort of templated a piece of card, a black card, and then stuck it to the top in order to prevent the figure from sticking to it. But I didn't attach one to the bottom, and that is still super sticky and horrible. And it's a real shame, because if you take the crotch grabber arrangement out of the equation, what you've got here is actually a really nice base. It's just the plastic that they've used here is just seeping all over the show. So yeah, that's the rather sticky stand. So there you have it, folks. That's all the accessories that come with your Carlito figure. So without further ado, let's bring out the man himself. Let's get him onto the sticky stand, onto the turntable, and have a close-up look at him. Okay, folks, just before Mr. Carlito Brigante makes his grand entrance, a couple of accessories that Mr. Go Figure forgot because he's a bit of a spoon. Sunglasses. You also get a pair of sunglasses with the figure. Now, these are all one piece of sculpted plastic and quite nicely done too, I think. They're screen accurate, most certainly. They've got that gold, that high gloss gold frame with those black lens sections, and overall really nicely done. Very fragile. I'll issue the usual warning, be super careful with the 6 scale sunglasses. These don't have hooks for going over the backs of the ears. It's that tiny hole behind the ear solution that we see quite a lot with figures. Can be a bit of a ball ache getting them on and off, and I would just say be super careful if you pick this figure up, putting them on and taking them off. But overall, yeah, screen accuracy is there, and nice to see that that gold shine is still there all these years down the line. You also get a flick knife. Now, this is a couple of pieces of sculpted plastic. There's the blade and the hilt. The hilt itself has got this gunmetal grey finish with what looks like an attempt to create wood for the handle. The blade itself is super shiny and still looks good today. Eagle-eyed amongst you will notice there's a slight bend there. I think that's an age thing more than anything, but it is actually a functioning flick knife to a certain extent, as much as the blade itself will fold away into the hilt there. So yeah, that's your 6 scale flick knife. So for the second time of asking, let's bring out Mr. Brigante. Okay folks, so here he is. It's Carlito himself, onto the stand, onto the turntable. I can't give first impressions, obviously. I've had this figure a long time. However, what I will say is, number one, the years have been kind to the figure. They absolutely have, in my opinion. As regulars to the channel will know, I'm a huge Al Pacino fan. I've got a whole section of the collection which is just dedicated to Al Pacino, and this really is up there with Enter-based Scarface figures and the Vincent Anna from Present Toys as some of my favourite Al Pacino pieces. But we will do as we always do. We will take a close-up look at this guy and find out if the years have been kind to him. Let's stop him from spinning, and we will start at the bottom and work our way up. Now, I'm going to say this from the get-go. I've got to be super careful with this figure. Number one, and probably the biggest reason for being super careful, is this overcoat. This overcoat is pleather. It's not real leather. It has stood up pretty well. We'll cover the overcoat when we're looking at the actual outfit itself, but we'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Why break with tradition? That's what I say. Let's start with the feet. Now, the feet, the boots themselves, and these are really nice. These ankle boots, these super shiny ankle boots, and that's something that's got stuck to the stand and then stuck to his foot. But yeah. The ankle boots are done really nicely with those Cuban heels. They're super shiny. You've got sculpted increases there. Overall, really nicely done. The shape is right, the shine is right, the sculpt is on point, and I think for its age, once again, I think these are really good, and the screen accuracy is there. Now, how these are pegged in is a good question, because I've never had them off to find out. But you've got socks on there, which once again is a great addition to see. What really does impress me with these trousers is the fall, is the accuracy of the fall of these trousers. How they bunch at the bottom here. There's a slight flare to them, and then they taper inwards, and it just looks fantastic. I think the stitch work on these trousers is phenomenal as well. The cut is right. They're a cotton material, but let's just check the articulation on these feet. There isn't a vast amount of movement in these feet because there's no split cut boot design going on here. So you are very limited in the forward and backward department. There's no real sort of twist there, but there is some side to side movement. But yeah, once again, I'm going to say it again, this is a 12-year-old figure we're looking at here, so things have improved somewhat. But moving up, yeah, as I say, those trousers really nicely done. They are showing their age a little bit, in as much as a lot of black cotton does, and as it starts to get older, it starts to become a little bit discoloured, and I try to avoid handling this figure as much as possible, simply to try and preserve it. But yeah, there is some discoloration that started in these trousers, and that is simply an age thing. It's not been exposed to sunlight or any adverse weather conditions or anything like that, or adverse temperatures rather. Yeah, I think that is simply an age thing, but I still think they look pretty good. And as I say, the thing that impresses me most is the cut here. I am not going to push the articulation too much on this figure. It's a 12-year-old figure and I don't want to damage it, but we've got ratchet joints at the knees there. It's a solid body as well. That's another thing that you notice when you pick this figure up. It really has some heft to it for its size, because it's not the biggest figure in the world. Let's face it, Al Pacino ain't the biggest guy in the world, but it's got some real weight to it, and it's got a quality feel to it, the body. Now, moving up, you've got the belt. Now, I am not certain whether that belt is leather or pleather. I'm going to assume it's pleather because the coat is, but there's a nice buckle on there. And that pleather has held up pretty well, I have to say. You're going around the back there. It stood the test of time well. There's no flaking and no real damage to it. So, yeah, that's done well. Moving up, when you get up to the abdomen section, what you're first greeted with here is the waistcoat. Now, the waistcoat itself, I'm going to be super careful with this coat. The waistcoat itself is a cotton material, and it's a deep blue. It's not a black, and that is screen accurate. And it's got this sort of shiny pinstripe in there, very, very fine, and you have to get really up close if the light will catch that to see it. But overall, nicely done. You've got the black buttons down the front. There are 2 snaps there. Once again, some of the things I hate the most. But yeah, pretty well done, that waistcoat. Nicely tailored, the fall is right, the colour is right, the screen accuracy is there. Moving up, you've got this sort of dark brown cotton shirt underneath with the dark brown tie. And for a 12-year-old figure, the tailoring on here is phenomenal, I think. That tie is really, really well done with the knot at the top there, the Oxford knot. I believe it's an Oxford knot, correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong. I don't wear ties that often these days, but the stitch work in the collar, really, really nice. And overall, yeah, the tailoring, the colours and the screen accuracy are all there. Worth mentioning at this point as well, forgot to mention these in the accessories section because they were on the figure. He does come complete with this necklace, which is screen accurate. He wore this gold necklace. Now, time hasn't been too kind to this necklace. Now, I'm not sure whether this is plastic or whether this is metal. It is so fine, it's very, very difficult to say. But yeah, the years haven't been kind to it. There's certain areas where it's just simply faded. Some areas are still super shiny, if the light's catching that, but some areas are not, and it's sort of dulled down a little bit. It's not a deal breaker. I think that's just an age thing more than anything. Yeah, underneath the coat, that brown shirt continues down through and down to the end of the arms, obviously, where those shirts do continue to. Let's take a look at this jacket now. This is a pleather overcoat, this one, and I have to say, considering, and I'm going to say it again, you're going to be sick of hearing me say it, considering its age, it's done pretty well for pleather. There are some issues with it, and it's starting to get that sticky feel that you get with pleather, but a lot of that might be down to the fact that I treat this with, excuse me, I treat this with Aerospace 303 on a regular basis, and I've found that when you treat pleather like that on a regular basis, it does tend to take some time for the 303 to soak in, and it can give it that sticky feeling. So avoid handling for maybe sort of 24 hours, 36 hours after an application. But on the whole, I think it's standing up very, very well. The cut is absolutely on point. The stitch work in the pleather is really, really well done. The screen accuracy is there. It's still got that shine today. It does feel a little on the delicate side, and there are some areas where it is starting to give a little bit. You can probably see here, just above the elbow there, and it's just ever so minor. But this is an age thing. It's going to happen. But on the whole, I think it's, as I say, stood the test of time really well. The detailing on the back is screen accurate with these ribs on either side here, and then these taller sections in the back. The shoulder area is really nicely stitched, and overall, considering it's pleather, I think we've done a cracking job. Worth mentioning the lining at this point as well. It's got this sort of black paisley effect, nylon lining inside, which just looks really nice as well. And once again, stitch work is really good. So I'm being super careful with this, and you'd probably notice that in the showcase section at the end. I won't be going for any super dynamic poses with this one. Don't tend to take this overcoat off on a regular basis. But also the other accessory as well, worth mentioning at this point, is that he does come with the gold bracelet as well. Now, if I can get this into shot, so I've got him in this pose with the gun. If I can get that into camera there, and it is tiny, there is a gold bracelet, and it says Carlito on it if the camera's catching that. The gold and on the bracelet has lasted better, that gold paint application, than it has on the necklace. Also as well, another accessory I forgot to mention, and the eagle-eyed amongst you will also notice one of the issues with this figure is the watch. I'm not going to pull this too far up because you can see there the ends of the cuffs here are starting to go. They're starting to deteriorate, and that's where they rubbed against the hands. But there is a gold watch, which is screen accurate under there as well. And herein lies one of the issues. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have already spotted this. Where the pleather has started to deteriorate at the end of the sleeves there, it's actually marked these hands. I think that is removable. I think those stains are removable. Never got round to doing it, to be honest with you. But I think it's some rubbing alcohol in there. Take the hands off. A little bit of rubbing alcohol will bring that off, and hopefully not damage the paintwork on the hands. But yeah, that is down to the deterioration of the pleather here, and then the rubbing, and it's happening on both hands. Not so much on this left hand, but for some reason. Sorry, on this right hand, but for some reason that left arm there has deteriorated more than the right one. But overall, I think for 12-year-old pleather, I think it's a miracle there's anything left of it at all, to be honest with you. I've got a Hot Toys The Crow figure, and literally it's a pile of dust. But yeah, that's the overcoat. So let's take a look at this head sculpt. Let's see what all the fuss is about. Let's get as close as we can in on the head sculpt here now. I've got to say, I think it's phenomenal. Hands down, I think it's one of the best Pacino head sculpts I have ever seen in 1/6 scale, and I've seen a few. I think the likeness to Pacino is pretty much perfect. There isn't an angle here where you view this figure where that head sculpt isn't absolutely spot on. That profile is frighteningly good. I think for a 12-year-old figure, I think Blitzway absolutely knocked this out of the park, and I still absolutely love it to this day. I think the hair, the hair is the right colour, it's screen accurate, the style is correct, there are individual strands out there. It's perhaps not as 4K as we would see with a modern day sculpt. But I think it is, for its time, I think it is beautifully done. You've got these wisps falling down over the forehead here. The style is absolutely right all the way around there. I think they nail the hair on completely. The face itself, wonderful sculpt, really, really wonderful. Down to the asymmetrical features underneath the eyes here, and if you know Pacino, you'll know what I mean here. Almost like one cheekbone is slightly more accentuated than the other, and it's that right cheekbone. But you've got the slight bags under the eyes. There's crow's feet going on, slight furrowing in at the top of the bridge of the nose there. Eyebrows really well painted. That beard, for its age, I think is phenomenally well done. I've seen figures, modern figures, where the sculpt and paint application on beards is nowhere near as good as this. Skin tones, skin textures, absolutely on point. Those eyes, super glassy and really well painted with some very, very subtle hints of pinks in the eyes as well. If I can get this, this camera will focus, I'm going to try and get in as close as I can. Please focus, and maybe you can get an idea here. And I know it's a cliche, but it is one of those head sculpts that really looks so much better in hand. I don't think the camera really does it justice. But yeah, the articulation on this head, it's not a fixed neck head sculpt. So you've got a decent range of articulation here. I don't push the articulation simply because I don't want the back of that hair rubbing against the pleather and causing any more damage. But yeah, you get a decent range of motion out of it. And the body itself, you're going to have to take my word for it. The articulation is definitely there. But as I say, I tend to avoid pushing this figure any more than I absolutely have to. So there you have it, folks. That is Carlito Brigante, courtesy of Blitzway. Let's get him back on the stand and going for final thoughts on this guy. Now, where to begin? It's a difficult one. This it's going to be very hard to score this because, as it always is with these older figures, I'm going to get him as close in as possible. But I've got to say, I've not had him 12 years. I've not had him since his release. I got him probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Had I got this figure on its initial release 12 years ago, straight out of the box, before the pleather had started to deteriorate, before the stand had started to leak everywhere, it would have been an instantaneous 10 for me. Absolutely, no doubt about it. So it's always going to be a compromise. I'm emotionally invested in the character and in 6-scale figures. So I'm going to try and put my passion to one side and be as subjective as possible. You know, by modern standards, yes, they're a huge room for improvement here. That base could be so much better. Let's lose the pleather. Let's get a real leather overcoat going on. Maybe that hair could be a little bit more HD. Maybe the head sculpt could be ever so slightly more HD. But I still think this is a phenomenal piece, even 12 years down the line. Scoring it, difficult. On a personal, emotional level, it's a 10 for me, even with all its faults. However, I've got to take into consideration those issues that we talked about. So I would say by today's standards, this would probably come off at a 7.5 for the outfit. Maybe an 8 for the outfit, but the head sculpt is still a clean 10 for me. So let's go with an 8. Well, that sounds good. That works for me, and I'm comfortable with it. So there you have it. The 12-year-old Carlito Brigante, courtesy of Blitzway, comes out with an 8. So it's one up for us old folks. Us old folks can still score high. So there you have it, folks. I hope this review has been useful. I hope you've enjoyed it. What's coming up on the channel? Well, in the 6-scale world, we have a raft of new figures coming in from Hot Toys, from Pure Arts, In Arts, Susu Toys, Present Toys, Caustic Plastic, X06. So yeah, a veritable raft of things on the horizon. So as I mentioned at the top there, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon so you're not missing anything. We've also got more episodes of Grail or Fail, more episodes of Don't Make Me Choose. We have an infestation on the way, but I'm not going to give any more away than that. Yeah, we've got retro reviews as well. So and we've got quarter scale, we've got statues. So yeah, stay tuned. And I suppose all it remains for me to say is a massive thank you for watching. And as always, from myself, from Carlito Brigante, take care of yourselves, happy collecting, and it's over to the showcase.